I think the world still has to recognize that. But I think the world will recognize that as we move on in through the information revolution, and as national boundaries reduce in importance with telecommunications developments and mass media developing and so on. I think these things will become matters of concern for everyone. But I think U.S. As the most important power in the world today has a role to play, and we hope that they will play a role based on equity and justice for peace in this whole region, Pakistan and Pakistan. And I speak not just for the government. I think there's this general feeling amongst all Pakistanis that they would like to work for peace in this region. We don't want to be at war. Even otherwise, it would look fantastic and ridiculous to anyone as to how a country which is 6 times smaller than India should want to be fighting with India or antagonistic. Why should we? Our peoples can both gain much more through peace. But we would like the environment for peace to be developed. And Kashmir figures as central in all that. That's our problem.
You mentioned the word role. In conclusion, is there any role that you can see what we're trying to do, how we can best get the message out, help at a grassroots level to make people more aware and more consciously anxious to see peace here in exchange?
Well, you're attached to the academic world in the United States. You've been working with India. You've got many friends, as you said, from India. You will have many friends in Pakistan as you come to Pakistan.
I hope so. Keep coming back.
You
I
will,
hope I keep coming back.
You will develop friendships, and we appreciate your humanitarian efforts. And I'm sure that there is need to work at all levels, at the level of government, at the level of peoples, at the level of academia. We need to work at all levels because these are complex issues and complex problems, and they have to have input at all levels.
Can you advise us on anything that we could specifically do, or?
You are so experienced in this field yourselves, but I think it's important to lay facts before the people. You're both working in the U.S. environment. You've got access to India and Pakistan. I think you have to show to your own people, in your country, which is an important country which can play an important role in bringing peace and harmony to this region. Not only for our sake, but also for the sake of the world, as Chaudhry Sahib said. It's an important region, there are many people involved. Between India and Pakistan, we are 1/5 of all humanity. So, and then we...
How many times have I heard you say that?
we straddle an area which is of great strategic importance in many ways. Therefore, it is in the interest of the United States that they should endeavor to get peace here and to resolve our problems, help us in resolving those problems. And also, it is in the interest of world peace and the United States, not just of this region, to have peace, because any war between us or any serious antagonism can create great instability in this region. Also because both India and Pakistan are in a region which is otherwise unstable, and we are both democracies. So even for the sake of the democratic ideal of government and with which we share your experience, it's important that this should succeed. The United States could play a very important role. I don't know which is the best area to target, whether it's the Congress or government.
Well,
But I think Congress is
Niger
important
does a lot of work with Congress.
because Congress is an area. They are very important members of the power structure in the United States, and there's a lack of awareness and understanding of others' problems and other areas. Many, unless they're specializing, most congressmen know a great deal about their hometown and about their home state or their constituency, but they know little about the rest of the world. I think even getting them aware would make a lot of difference.
And
make
yeah,
them focus.
that's very much what we want to do. I don't know if Salim mentioned to you one of the things that we were talking about doing, and this program in October, Nizer, through his work with Congress, we're going to have several very important members of Congress who are not going to be giving opinions and such, but will be.
We want to bring in some small
And I already have the materials for him to take with him. But this, I'll leave those with you. You can read them at your leisure. But what Monabai did with rural development and reforestation and the tribal rehabilitation program, in a wild sense, is what we're hoping to do in our own way to bring a new philosophy. In fact, when I was talking to someone this morning, I said I interviewed 500 people in 3 weeks when I was here, and I said not one single person had a derogatory remark to make about him, and that in itself is almost a miracle. I mean, there are people that even criticize Mother Teresa, you know. But I said he never went into a village and said, "What religion are you?" or "What's your cultural background?" He went in with the idea that everybody was part of a. You'll be spoiling me here.
Yeah, which doesn't, in this context.
I'm just going to fly.
The central theme of this really idea was that mobilize public opinion by raising the level of awareness, so that they make the political leaders, they make their job politically easier to make their decisions when it comes to improving the quality of life of people in South Asia. Because the political leadership is really stuck. They want to do certain things, they want to demonstrate a degree of flexibility, but the public pressure, because of lack of awareness and more of emotionalism, persists. That's why it only make it more difficult instead of more easy for them.
May I take, we'll ask you some questions. I promise you if you say anything outlandish, we will not use it. Because in addition, what we want to do with this is tie it into the conference, you know, a printed thing of some of your comments and that. And I don't trust my shorthand, so I'll see. Can you pull your chair maybe just a little closer? I never trust mechanical.
I'll speak here.
Oh, okay. Don't fall out of the chair. Basically, what we wanted to get was your thoughts on, you know, what we're trying to do, and if you have any ideas on how we might be able to work. So basically, well, first of all, I read the. I certainly hope whoever wrote this, you gave them a raise, because that's a beautiful bio that was written. Except you should have smiled just a little tiny bit on that picture. But that was really a very nicely written one. But when I was reading about you being in jail and the torture and all that kind of stuff, did you never reach a point where you thought, that's it, the hell with all this, I don't care what happens?
No.
It's very impressive. That you
No, I never. No. There was always a commitment, and there was never that point.
Well, really, I was very impressed when I read that. As a matter of fact, one of the
But
things...
my jail was a very short one. This what? All told, just over 3.5 years.
Oh, my
around that.
God. I thought you were going to say 3.5 days.
No.
The,
But it wasn't in one stretch. It was in about 3 or 4 different episodes.
That,
The longest was, I think, about over a year.
well, yeah,
There was no torture.
Oh, I thought.
No physical torture as such, but very bad living conditions. And well, almost inhuman living conditions. Very dirty, no proper toilet facilities, and the rooms were very bad in the summer and in the monsoon. It used to rain mud in the room because the roofs and the ceilings were very badly leaking, and so well, there were just these problems. But otherwise, there was no physical torture as such.
Oh my!
But I was kept for long periods in a sort of way in solitary. We used to have a cook, somebody to one of the prisoners to cook for us and all that. But there were many occasions when I was kept alone. But I didn't mind that. I did have access to books, so books and exercise that kept us.
Did you ever read the book that Terry Anderson wrote about his being held hostage in Beirut? Yeah.
No.
I read
Terry,
that.
no, not Terry Anderson, but I did read some accounts of people who were prisoners of war during the Second World War and before that for long periods. And two things that stood out there were, one, the need to have cleanliness, and B, the need to have exercise. Because if you could have both, then your morale would remain and you would not break down. I not only did that myself, but I also advised all other political prisoners with me on different occasions to start a regimen of exercise and very good personal hygiene. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I think the book's called Den of Lions. But when you read it, and I think he was held hostage, but for 7 years, you keep thinking, how could anybody keep their sanity? But of course, the difficulty I'd have is if they didn't give me my cigarettes. They probably could get me to confess anything they wanted me to say. Okay.
In spite of all the mounting evidence against cigarettes, you still are a firm believer in cigarettes?
Well, my grandfather was 97 when he died, still smoking. My mother was 87. And actually, I have said periodically that I would quit, not because I think it's going to kill me. Actually, I think it's my link to sanity sometimes. But the non-smokers at home have just become so obnoxious that even if it killed me, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of thinking they made me stop smoking. Although you have to go outside at every building. And I was outside.
Do they pretend to be superior?
Well, of course, my best friend who drinks too much, it usually stands with a drink in her hand, and when I'm smoking, she'll say, "You really should quit smoking for your own good." And I thought, someday I'm going to take that drink and pour it over your head and say, "Yeah, I'll quit smoking when you quit drinking." But you have to go outside. And I was outside smoking a couple of weeks ago, and the president of the university came out, and he said, "Oh, Connie, you really should quit smoking for your own good." And I said, "Look, this is my only fault." I said, "If I quit smoking, I will be perfect. Do you want to deal with me perfect?" And he looked at me and said, "Oh, keep puffing, keep puffing." But, okay, when the history of your presidency is written, what do you hope that they will say about you and what you accomplished?
Well, first, I would like to go down as a president that did whatever he could, to cure Pakistan by making our institutions strong, especially ensuring that the Constitution was followed in letter and spirit, that the supremacy of the rule of law was upheld, that the democratic system matured during this period. And Secondly, I would like to do whatever I could to help Pakistan take off on the economic front and on the development of our human resources. The development of our human resources has been retarded by lack of attention by government, successive governments, right from the inception of Pakistan. So today we have the very unfortunate phenomenon of having almost two-thirds of our people still in the category of non-literates. This, I think, is one of our major weaknesses socially and economically. And this is one area where I have been trying to get the people involved, and I've been telling governments at the federal and provincial levels that unless you have a participatory approach towards the spread of literacy, you never get anywhere. So I've been trying to visit for the last year and a half regularly, wherever I go, one primary school or the other. And my emphasis is on spreading literacy amongst women in Pakistan, because an educated woman, an educated mother or a sister is a great influence on the entire household. And I think Pakistani people's lot would be much, much better if we had literacy. Because with full literacy, we could develop our strongest asset, which is our large human resource, and use it for the benefit of mankind, of each other, of developing our own social relationships in a harmonious way, and our political system. So I would like to contribute to that and to the
That's
development.
part of that quality, overall quality of life thing that I was talking about. It's one other step in it.
Well, I think for us, under our present circumstances, this is perhaps the most fundamental step, because without that you can't really improve the quality of life. Pakistan, of course, has been averaging fairly high rates of growth for most of our nation's existence. We've averaged between 5.5 to 6% of growth in our GDP annually. But our potential is much greater. We can be doing over 7 to 8% for long sustained periods. But right now I feel that the lack of development of our human resources may be the biggest constraining factor, not only for the quality of life or for human existence, because I think education or knowledge, for that matter, is one of our fundamental rights, which every citizen should be provided for. But it also, not only is it important for that, but it also affects economic growth ultimately. If you have a strong human resource base, educated, and then if it's properly technically qualified beyond literacy, it has the appropriate skill levels and education and proper disciplines, then it can of course make a much bigger difference. I also feel that without education and without knowledge, we are creating an iniquitous society. In any society, the quality of education and relatively level playing fields in education provide the best possible means of reducing inequalities, because just by the power of knowledge or education, people who are well endowed or who study, they may belong to even very poor backgrounds, can have the ability to succeed in life and to contribute fully to to their society's progress. So I think this is fundamental, and this is an area which has been very badly neglected. So I'd like to contribute to that, and I am endeavoring. I keep moving around. I think our education generally and also its direction needs to be properly directed. There's need for focus on that. For research and science and technology is very low quality here. So I think there's need for government and for business organizations and others to focus on these areas which had been neglected in the past. I'd like to do my bit in all these areas.
In your bio and in your conversation, a couple times you've mentioned democracy. What does democracy mean to you? I mean, when you say democracy, what do you mean?
Well, democracy to me means very clearly people's empowerment, decentralization, devolution of power, decision making to the representatives of the people. That is really the essence of democracy. Of course, we've seen the phenomenon of even dictatorial regimes and other societies which were ruled in a despotic way. They would call themselves Democratic Republic of such and such, but that wasn't democracy. It's not what you call yourself, but whether you actually practice it on the ground. And Pakistan, as you know, came into being as a result of a mass movement. It was essentially democratic. It was powered by the people. When India and Pakistan came into being in 1947 as independent states, it was the culmination of a big struggle against the colonial power, that is Britain. And within the subcontinent of India and Pakistan, there were people, many of whom advocated one united India. Colonial power advocated that. But there were Muslims in the subcontinent who felt that the Hindu majority was highly oppressive, and the experience that we'd had in after the 1935 Act of governance in provinces had proved a total failure for the approach of a united India. And the Pakistan movement caught the imagination of the Muslims, and we were able to carve out a nation state. So it wasn't by any arrangement, or it wasn't by any colonial dispensation that Pakistan came into being. It came into being as a result of a very large people's movement. And its entire historical experience has been a democratic one. So after we became a separate independent state, we had a parliamentary form of government, which was essentially democratic. We've had twice military interventions. Martial law was declared twice. And we've had aberrations from democracy, but whenever there has been such an intervention, or when democracy has gone off the rails, there's been a tremendous movement again developing within the people for the restoration of democracy.
Mm-hmm.
So now, for the last 12 years, we have seen continuing process of democracy. We've had difficult times and so on, but democratic institutions, I feel, have matured. We've had no military intervention. They have kept to their professional duties. Political leaders may have made mistakes. might have righted themselves. We've had some traumatic experiences. We've had some problems with our economy. But by and large, democracy has emerged stronger. There is no doubt in people's minds about the fact that we must have democracy in Pakistan. But one area where I think democracy should be not only nurtured but must be fully supported, and where democracy itself derives strength from, is a very strong local bodies base and decentralization and devolution of powers. Now, Pakistan still has to make good progress in that direction. That's an area of weakness we have right now. And I keep telling our leadership from different parties that unless we are able to take decision making down to the grassroots level, like say in the United States, at the level of your neighborhood, or decision making at the level of the small town or the village, local government. This local government has to be fully in place, and local government has to be a strong local government so that people's needs are met as far as possible from local resources, and where decision making is done by the people themselves. So that is, I think, a very, very necessary part of democracy, of the democratic order, and that should be the base of democracy. There we have still to develop long and enduring institutions which are in line with our culture and with our socio-political cultural development over the centuries. We've been getting off the rails in that. But I hope that local bodies elections, which are due later this year, will ensure that that shortcoming is redressed.
You mentioned the word in passing, failure. The mythical wise ones, whoever they are, always say that we should learn from our mistakes. Do you think there are some mistakes that Pakistan has made in its short history that they have learned from and will not repeat or
I don't know. I don't know. It's difficult to pass judgment on whether we have learned from our mistakes and will not repeat those mistakes. But certainly we've made mistakes. We continue to make mistakes. I think all civilizations and all societies
isn't that part of being human?
will make mistakes. Exactly, we are all humans. But I think a wise people or a wise person, or for that matter a wise family, will try to learn from its mistakes. Well, the wisest will learn from the mistakes of others. Those who are less wise will learn from their own mistakes. But there are some who don't learn from even their own mistakes, and they have to suffer. So we have suffered in Pakistan. We've made mistakes, but I think our mistakes have been more at the level of not setting up proper institutions of accountability, of proper monitoring systems, of governance. Our governance systems have deteriorated over the years. And you might be following very good theoretical policies, and if your governance system is bad, then you suffer, and the people suffer. And none of those policies then can be fully implemented. So I think our mistakes have been primarily in those areas. And again, I think we made mistakes about our priorities. What should be our priorities? Where should we be focusing people's energies, government's energies? How must we develop? Must we pay more attention to the development of our human resources? Or must we pay more attention to other big infrastructural white elephant projects? And I think successive governments have made basic mistakes in prioritization and in the direction and focus of our people.
As I read your bio and
Okay, we just...
as I read your bio, while we're sitting here, we'll take a couple informal pictures of us, and then we'll take some formally. As I was reading your bio, I was so impressed.